Hi guys, Dr. Drwendydearborne here with another episode of Food Beyond Its Nutrition, and do I have one for you today? We are going to be pasteurizing eggs. That's right, we're going to pasteurize eggs at home. And as long as you have the right equipment, pasteurizing your eggs at home is easy. So let's get to it, guys. Here you see I have my eggs, and I actually have a power quick pot, which is Instapot. And that's what I'm going to use today to pasteurize my eggs. Now, you may be wondering, why would you want to pasteurize your eggs? Well, salmonella is and does create foodborne illnesses that can be really dire, actually, guys. I mean, it can make you very sick to the point where, depending on what's going on with you, it can kill you. Salmonella is found on the outside of the shell, and that's if the eggs are not clean. And it's found on the outside of the shell. And if the membrane inside the egg isn't intact, it can actually seep inside of the egg. So to prevent foodborne illnesses from salmonella, you can actually pasteurize your eggs, which then makes them safe to use in things like mousses, meringues, mayonnaise, and anything that you would use, Caesar's dressing, anything that you would use eggs for or raw eggs for. It really does take the guesswork out. And my family would tell you, my sisters in particular would tell you that I have a love-hate relationship with eggs. Mayonnaise, meringues, mousses are always iffy for me. They always pose a little question mark for me. And so therefore, pasteurizing the eggs just takes away that question mark. Now, as I said, I'm going to use my quick pot, and I'm going to use the sous vide function on that. And the sous vide function on that is going to allow me to create a temperature controlled water bath where I can immerse my eggs for a period of time. And that's important. And that's what you need. You need water, a controlled water heating environment, and time. So I'm going to use 135 degrees, and I'm going to actually immerse my eggs in a 135-degree water bath for an hour and 15 minutes. So it's 135 degrees Fahrenheit for an hour and 15 minutes. Now, guys, this doesn't actually cook the eggs. It's really important to know that the sous vide function that I'm going to use, it will not cook the eggs. It will just pasteurize them. So your eggs are still raw, but minus the salmonella. Okay. Now, a word of warning, if the water is too hot, your eggs are going to boil. There are different temperatures that people use. You can use 140 degrees, and people will say anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes. I elected for 135, nice, slow and low for an hour and 15. So guys, we're going to get to it, and we're going to start the pasteurization process. One of the things that I didn't mention in the mise en place, you're going to need a bowl of ice cold water to stop the actual pasteurization process at the end of the pasteurization time. In my Instant Pot, I have enough water to submerge my eggs, and that's called a trivet, I believe, and I'm going to put the eggs on that so that they don't actually sit on the bottom of the pot, because the heating element is at the bottom of the pot. It's underneath that pot. I'm actually going to cover mine, and this is to prevent, evaporation. I just think it just helps with the whole installation process. So let's start this process. I've selected the sous vide function, and it does actually go to a default setting, but I'm actually going to override that because I want to set my time, which is for an hour and 15 minutes. And I also want to set my temperature, which is for 135 degrees Fahrenheit. So I've switched it on, and once the water actually comes up to temperature, the sous vide will actually beep and then it's ready. I'm ready to put the eggs in. So I've covered it, and we're just going to wait until it comes up to temperature. Well, it beeped. And one of the things that I'm going to do is with a thermometer, I'm going to check to see what the water temperature is. And for me, this is really important because if I was using my sous vide, my sous vide stick, it's, to me, the temperature is more accurate on that. But I really didn't feel like breaking all that out. Well, what actually happened is the temperature was 133 degrees, which meant there was a 2-degree differential. So I upped the time for the pasteurization process by 7 minutes. Okay. So I'm using a slotted spoon to put the eggs into the water. Remember, they're eggs. Be gentle. You don't want them to break. Once I have actually put my eggs into the water, I'm actually going to cover the sous vide back up. I'm going to cover it with the lid, and then I'm just going to allow it to do its thing. I am going to allow it to pasteurize. So I'm going to put the lid back on, and once the pasteurization process has been completed, it will beep, and I will take the eggs out and I will put them into a cold water bath. Okay, guys, the timer has beeped, it has gone off, and the eggs are ready to be removed. So I'm actually going to remove the eggs, and it's really important to remember these are still raw eggs. They're not hard boiled, even though the water's warm. So I'm going to put them into my prepared ice bath. And what I elected to use was reusable ice cubes. And I actually only use these for my sous vide function whenever I'm doing anything with sous vide or anything that needs to be iced while cooking. So I'm going to leave these and allow them to really cool down. I want them to actually become cold. I added a few more of my reusable ice cubes just to facilitate that process. So I'm going to dry the eggs off, and I'm going to put them into a container. Now, it's really important, guys, that you mark your eggs, especially if you want to use them. If you actually pasteurize all your eggs, it's no problem. But it's really important that you mark your eggs and you don't put them back in the same container that they came in, okay? Because that container could have salmonella on it. So I've marked the container, I've put past, which is short for pasteurization, and the date that I did this on. And I made sure I told my husband what was what. Oops, I just cracked the egg. And this is what I mean. Somewhere in your brain, you need to remember that the egg is actually still an egg. It's just minus the salmonella. So let's take a look to see what's going on inside. And as I said, guys, it's still an egg. It looks like a raw egg. Take a look at this, okay? It looks just like a raw egg because it still is raw minus the salmonella. Now, the white of the egg, that turned slightly opaque, but outside of that, you would never really know that this has been in a heated bath, 135 degrees Fahrenheit, actually 133 degrees Fahrenheit for an hour and 22 minutes. So guys, this is the pasteurization process. Okay guys, before I wrap up, there are just a couple of things that I would like to address. Pasture raised and pasteurized. Raised eggs literally means that the chickens were allowed to roam free and to forage for their own food. They're out in the open, the sunshine, the whole 9 yards. So what you do need to use is organic pasture raised eggs so you can do this process of pasteurization. According to the USDA, your pasteurized eggs are good from anywhere from 3 weeks to 5 weeks. So the fresher the egg that you start with, and it should really, guys, be a nice pasture-raised organic egg. The fresher the egg, the longer you can keep it for. Your eggs need to be kept in the refrigerator. So once your eggs have been pasteurized, keep them under refrigeration conditions. And if you're going to put the eggs back into the container that they came in, guys, make sure you sanitize the container well using something that will kill the salmonella bacteria. So if you're like me and you have a little angst with eating raw eggs, you know, like typically I'd never have a Caesar salad. I won't go anywhere and have a Caesar salad. However, I can make my own Caesar salad because I will pasteurize my eggs. So if you've got a little angst with eggs, salmonella, guys, do yourself a favor, pasteurize your eggs, and then the world, as my mom says, will be your oyster. I hope you've enjoyed this video and you found it informative. I'm Dr. Wendy Dearborne. You can find recipes like this or how-tos like this on foodbeyonditsnutrition.com.